Hello, I'm Paul Pluta from Paul Pluta Prestige and welcome to my watch review. Today I'd like to talk about the magnificent Breitling Navitimer. And the Breitling Navitimer itself is probably Breitling's most iconic piece in the range. Without the Navitimer, Breitling would be a nothing brand. Breitling itself has in recent years reintroduced some variants on the Navitimer. They've even done away with the Valjoux 7750 movement and moved to a more in-house movement. Personally, I'm fairly cynical as to why they've done this, and I really have marked Breitling hard because of its use of Valjoux movements in the past. The modern Navitimer that you see on the screen is an old Navitimer 2. This is a piece available in the late 90s, early noughties, and it represents classic Breitling at its best. One thing Breitling has always done is it's always been an oversized piece and has been very popular with punks, spivs and other undesirable elements of the British rising lower middle class. The Breitling Navitimer itself, like most Breitlings, is sold to people who don't have much substance in their life. The Breitling Navitimer itself, although it looks the bit, it really is quite sad to reveal that the movement inside its heart is no different to a Hamilton or other generic Swiss pieces of shit. And it can be quite disappointing to know you've paid Rolex Daytona money for something with a generic heart inside it. The Navitimer itself still needs to be congratulated for many firsts, and it's one of the world's classic pilot watches. The Navitimer itself is a piece which was used by pilots, and it has a calculator type function before the advent of quartz technology and microelectronic advances. The Navitimer itself is a chronograph. However, it's not flyback. The Navitimer itself is, I believe, one of the design icons of the previous century. The Navitimer itself will be a very iconic piece in many years to come. Breitling can be congratulated for using a lot of polished metal. They beat the market and they invented this genre of a highly polished finish. And this is something which needs to be respected in the Breitling range. Many lower middle class Brits have loved the appeal of polished steel, as it looks almost like polished white gold. Many lower middle class Brits have been huge fans of the Breitling. And unfortunately, the Breitling brand itself there has been savaged by these successful chavs and throwback from society. The Breitling Navitimer itself, although a very aesthetically pleasing piece, although a very nice looking piece, it really isn't value for money in the modern context. For not much more money than buying a Breitling Navitimer, one could get a Breguet, a real man's watch. Okay, let's have a look at the score. Score for the Breitling. Okay, for the brand itself, I'm going to award Breitling a very successful 7. This is being extremely generous for the brand. For the model lineup itself, how does the Navitimer range compile in Breitling's lineup? Well, I'm going to have to give it a 10 because without the Navitimer, Breitling is a nothing brand. The movement itself, I'm going to give it a 7. And the overall quality and finish of the piece, another 7. The Paul Pluta Prestige rating on this particular timepiece there itself, I'm going to award another 7. There we have it, a total score of 38. I'm Paul Pluta, and I hope you've enjoyed this review of the Breitling Navitimer.